So, a while back, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I made a video that I am ashamed of. It is called I Made a Medieval Dress in a Day. And if you've seen it, you will know it is an atrocity to historical dress. I just want to say in defense of past Eileen that I was a brand new baby sewist. Like, I had been sewing things since I was a teenager, but I had never attempted a one-day project like that. 2, a dress I knew nothing about. So here's what happened. I had looked up 14th century dresses, and I had looked up videos on how 14th century women dressed themselves, and like the layers that went into that and the shapes that went into that. And here's what I had taken away at the time was geometric shapes for less wastage, simple fabrics. Again, in that video, don't go watch it. Please. If you don't give me views on that video, I will forever be thankful. I had gotten really crappy fabric at a thrift store, actually from DI, Deseret Industries. And I mean, I love finding fabric at thrift stores. Even still, like, I will always search the craft area for any fabrics that are there, and I will usually snag them up. I have a whole stash of thrift store fabric. But the fabric I found was totally wrong for the project I had intended it for. The 2 pieces of fabric were just like off in shade, and I didn't know how to do it at all. The other thing was I still had my Singer machine, and it was already like not working very well. So I ended up basting the whole thing together, but I didn't know that was basting. I just thought it was a running stitch, which, I mean, you can baste with a running stitch, but it's bad. They're like a centimeter between each stitch, and it still took me forever because I didn't have the muscle memory that I do now, and it is embarrassing. So I remade it. And I did not do it in a day. And I actually did this back in the spring, late spring, early summer, and I wore this to the Renaissance Fair this year, this new dress that I want to share with you. In the clip that I lost here, I had explained that I found the fabric at a thrift store, and all of it together was $3 total. At the time, I had no clue how much was in there because it was rolled up super tight, folded in half, and then there was tape wound around it that had the price written on it in Sharpie. When I got it home, I unrolled it and found out it was a lot of fabric. I actually also made a cloak out of this same fabric. You might have seen that in one of my previous videos. And I did end up dyeing the cloak fabric to be a little different from the dress. Anyways, I had shown both articles and explained it in the video clip that I lost. Here it is. Butterick B4827. You'll probably, if you like costuming or historical dress, you'll probably recognize this pattern. And I used this pattern minus the belt. But you'll notice mine has buttons in the front and this lady does not. So what I did was I just split the front in half, and the like plackets, no, not plackets, what, I don't know what those are called. The little rectangle pieces that go down the back, I put those in the front instead, and so the back seam closed. I did this because for some reason I wanted to dress up as a peasant, you know, like a well-off peasant, because there was a bit of fabric wastage, not too much, not too much. But it was curved, it wasn't geometric. It wasn't polygons, there were curves in my fabric. But I changed the opening to the front and changed it from a lacing to covered buttons, which I did cover all the buttons myself with some of that wastage, that scrap fabric, just so that I could dress myself. Yeah, I used this pattern, changed the opening to the front. Then what I did, instead of going straight for this fabric, because I knew this was I got all of it for $3, not even per yard, like $3 for all of it. But I know normally this fabric would be expensive. I even went to try and see, before I started, the closest matching fabrics I could find at Joann's to like texture and everything. Holy crap, the price tag! Oh my gosh! It was like double digits per yard. Holy crap! So yeah, I knew there was no chance of me being able to like fix mistakes by buying more fabric. Also, I couldn't find the same color. So yeah, I wanted to be careful. So I did the thing I never do, and you'll be so proud of me. I made a mock-up! I just got the really cheap cotton. I don't know why I chose red. I think I had the idea that maybe if I liked the mock-up, I could sew it into like a bodice or something. Anyways, so I made the mock-up and I adjusted Fredwina to meet my exact measurements, and I put the mock-up on her, and then I just pinned and tucked until it was perfect. I also only made the mock-up from the hips up because the skirt is just, you know, the skirt is geometric. The skirt, I was like, I want it to be as full as it is on the pattern. So I didn't mess with the skirt. I only messed with hips upward. And I only did a mock-up of one sleeve because my arms are symmetrical. To cut out the fabric, I laid the mock-up on top of the original pattern paper, and for the shoulders to hips, I traced my mock-up that I had altered, and then from hips downward, hips to floor, for the skirt pieces, I traced the rest of the pattern. And yeah, then after that, I pinned it all together, I put it on Fredwina. So then I took those pieces, I took the mock-up parts off of it, and then I put Fredwina in a box so that my kid couldn't mess it up, because I knew I would not get to it before my child woke up the next day. And I sewed them together. You'll notice the back turned into 4 pieces instead of 2 long straight pieces down the back. That is because my waist is quite short, and so I realized that it didn't fit unless I just kind of scrunched that and tucked and pinned it right there at the back of the small of the back. And so yeah, that happened, and that's okay. And that's what I did. Sewed it all together, added the buttons. I actually put interfacing on the inside. Yay me! I worked so hard on this. I added buttons to the wrists because I couldn't originally get my hands through. I was like trying to squish them like that. And so I cut it open, folded it open on the seam, and no, I never even got around to putting the buttons on there. I kept meaning to put a button on here, but I haven't. I have some leftover covered buttons. They're actually in one of these cupcake containers here. Yeah. But yeah, it made it super easy to roll up, which was great at the Renaissance Fair because I was able to change a diaper. And then after that, it was just a matter of hemming it, which having my own dress form is so easy to do. Your own hems, because you just set it to your height, and then it's perfect. And so I just pinned it up, cut it, and hemmed it. Super easy. and finished all the edges. The inside seam lines are not finished, and this fabric does fray a lot, so that was tricky. The next thing, I used the same apron and the same veil that I used in that original embarrassing, don't go watch it, 14th century dress. Yeah, and I just did that because the apron, I got it on a Pioneer reenactment, and the veil I didn't really care about too much. I did want to wear my hair veiled because I wanted to be historically accurate, and as a married woman my hair would have been covered, so I braided it in 2 braids and put it up in a crown, put the veil on, covered my hair, and it was actually really nice because it was a very hot day at the Renaissance Fair, and so the veil covered my neck and I didn't get burned. And I don't like to tan because I don't tan, I burn. No matter what, I just burn. I cannot tan. I like my fair skin and I want to treat it nicely and treat it the way it needs to be treated. That's my 14th century dress. I didn't get pictures of it at the Renaissance Fair. I did get this super cute picture of my baby's costume, which as a bonus, I'll just explain how I put it together. One of my friends at my baby shower gave me these sleepers that are basically like a long gown. So I put them in one of those, took a drawstring from something else, tied it as a belt, and then pulled the excess up around so it looked like a poofy hoopla. I think that's how you say that. So it was like a hoopla. And then I took his little sun hat, and I took my feather clip from my 1920s costume and I stuck it on his hat. And then I put him in a pair of girls' tights that had little prints of shoes. And that was his costume. I ran into my husband's best friend at the Renaissance Fair, and his girlfriend was actually working as the princess at the Renaissance Fair, like who runs the whole thing for the crowds.
Share. Yeah!
I don't think she actually runs the actual Renaissance Fair. I think she's just like the face of it. Anyways, so I ran into my husband's best friend, Brian. Hi, Brian! Brian watches my channel, so I know he's watching this. And he handed Lewis his little dagger that he'd just gotten. I say little. He handed Lewis his dagger he'd just gotten, which was really cool looking. And we took a picture. And yeah, so that's why my son is holding a knife in this picture. But it's sheathed. It's fine. And it looks super cute. And just, I had a fun time. It was actually my first Renaissance Fair, despite the fact that I love dressing up and like I live for costumes, and if someone says they have an excuse to wear a costume, I'm there and I'm ready and I want to make a costume. I've never been to a convention, and this was my first Renaissance Fair ever, and I'm like 28 years old. Anyways, here's the reveal of me wearing the dress that I made. Anyways, thanks for joining me in the fun here, and I'm hoping, just for funsies, to on a foggy day as fall comes in, to just go frolicking in this dress and cloak and convince my husband to just take footage of me, because I really want frolicking in the mist footage of this. Also, should I make a Mistborn cloak and dress up as Vin? Just for kicks and giggles. If you want me to make a Vin costume, comment below, because I need more excuses for costumes, despite the fact that I'm kind of bogged down right now because I need to make 3 more costumes before Halloween and I haven't started them. And I'm going traveling next week. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye. My gosh, what was that video? Me late at night, just like super tired, like I feel like that's what just happened. Historially? Historially, I'm making up farts. Oh my gosh.